So I'd take my sponsees out and we'd do step work like while we were rock climbing. And then anytime we were doing the third step, like obviously we'd pray in public and we'd say the third step prayer together. But I'd always take them cliff jumping. I'd be like, you believe in God? Let's go. And so like I remember,
What the fuck?
dude, on my inventory, I had like 4.
What's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to another episode. It's your favorite podcast, Built by the Red Stick, presented by Elevate Treatment and Legacy. We dropping every Friday.
Every Friday?
Not some Fridays.
Every Friday.
Every single Friday.
Even when it rains.
Even when it rains.
Even when it snows.
Even when it snows.
Yes, Lord.
Hey, look, I need you to do something for me real quick before we get into the alley-oop. Tell the people what they need to do.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that I was supposed to do last episode.
Oh, we're going to do this?
I'm going to lead off with it
we're
so
gonna
I
lead
don't
off
forget
with
because it's fresh on my mind.
Okay.
So if you've been keeping up with Built by the Red Stick, you notice that me and Mike, we banter back and forth. That's what we do. And a lot of the banter is about the vending machines, which has been corrected. Who fired who? Did I quit or get fired? Which we found out I was fired.
He quit.
I got quit.
He quit.
But the third thing that we talked about is that Michael said he was a better friend to me than I was to him in the sense of calling my phone, and that was the only way we talked. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm man enough to admit that due to my soul searching, I went to a few dark places, dark rooms, and got some clarity. Michael Oakley, in fact, do call me 60% more of the time than I call him. Yes, I said 60 because 40% of the time I'm calling you back. And so I would like to publicly apologize to Mike Oakley on the air for being a horrible friend, and I'll do better.
Terrible.
Not terrible.
Terrible.
Not terrible like Charles Buck.
Terrible.
So had to get that out the way. Now, with that said, if you want to continue to see me and Michael Oakley bantering, if you want to continue to see the great content that we bring in, all you got to do is go to YouTube, smash the subscribe button. And then when you smash the subscribe button, simultaneously with the middle finger, boom, you can hit the notification bell at the same time. I know you can do it because I did it. You can literally do it at the same time. And then once you cut the notifications on, you will be privy to all the beautiful things that we got to say week in and week out. Oh, you don't like YouTube? We even got something for you old people. We on the Apple Podcast app. You don't want to see our face, you just want to hear our voices? Apple Podcast app, Built by the Red Stick.
We on there.
You can follow us. Oh, you don't have Apple Podcast app because you got an Android? Spotify. Built by the Red Stick. You can follow and cut the notifications on that as well. You don't have none of those and you just want to see clips? Guess what? For all you young people, we on TikTok as well.
Tiki-taki.
We tiki-taki. You don't understand me? Built by the Red Stick. And
we're everywhere.
On Facebook. We also got an Instagram. We also got merch. Man, you can't miss us. If you ain't following or subscribed to us yet, then are you really living?
Nope. Now, that was so beautifully done.
Thank you,
so
man.
beautifully done.
I subscribed.
Yep.
My guy, right here.
Speaking
live.
of it, let's do the alley-oop. Because you got to move the mic for the alley-oop. Ladies and gentlemen, we keep coming with bangers, and we've got another one for the intro.
Let me catch it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got the man of many faces in recovery. I'm talking the most beautiful man in recovery. I'm talking about a man with more frequent flyer miles than a pilot. I'm talking about the Batman, the Bruce Wayne of recovery. If you know, you know. I am grateful to call him my friend, and quite frankly, y'all lucky to even see him right now. We got Mr. Dan Gilmer in the Built by the Red Stick building. Let's give him a beautiful round of applause.
Welcome. My man.
Thanks for having me.
DG in the building.
DG. Look, the other day I told him he was like the he's like the silent assassin of marketing, bro.
Yes.
He be everywhere, but nobody know.
That's why I call him the Bruce Wayne of recovery, right? Because they don't know Bruce Wayne is Batman. They like, this people like, man, I got sober. I got 10 years sober. Just don't know that your parents called Dan 10 years ago, and he flew you out to get you sober somewhere.
Oh, man.
Thanks. But I got to tell a cool story about Dan.
All right.
Dan probably don't remember this. This was exactly almost 4 years ago, when I first started marketing, few people don't know this. You might not even know this story. Dan Gilmer gave me my first referral source when I started marketing.
Okay.
And from then I grew to where I'm at today. So, Dan, I like to tell you on air, thank you for that.
No problem.
It changed. He's like, bro, whatever. Just get on with the episode, bro.
No, I mean, I remember going out to lunch, and we chopped it up, and we started talking about different things. I don't remember whose contact I shared, but I'm glad I did.
You gave me Melanie at Baton Rouge Behavioral. You called my phone and was like, man, you're going to kill it. You got the personality. I remember like yesterday. You was like, you got the personality for this. Like, you're going to do great. Why don't you give my girl Melanie a call at Baton Rouge Behavior, tell I sent you.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. So thank you, bro, for that.
I was dropping the bucket.
Yes, love.
So
I'm a pee on you. Had that like
first and foremost, man, tell the people who you are and what you do, and then we'll kind of get into a little background and whatnot.
Cool. All right. So I'm Dan Gilmer.
Yes, Lord.
Built by the Red Stick.
Yes, he is.
Born and raised here.
Yes, he is.
McKinley High. Do or die. Panther Pride. No, I'm from Baton Rouge. I left for a little bit to get sober. I came back shortly after that. And I've basically been trying to put myself in front of any avenue I can to help other people that were in my shoes, you know, right. 17 to 20 trying to get sober in Baton Rouge. Specifically men, because I can relate to that a little bit better, but pretty much, you know, anybody I can help. And so I work for a couple treatment centers in Texas, you know, TNR Recovery Group, Cypress Lake, and Origins Texas Recovery in Hannah's house. And I try to lead the outreach team, and I try to direct the continuing care team to make sure that we're making really good referrals after treatment, and then wraparound services with the alumni, making sure we're taking them to go play golf and getting them out there and keeping them connected and bringing them back to tell their story at the treatment centers. And, you know, I do that, and just a lot of the stuff I do here is really, frankly, like working with families and working with other therapists to
You got to work with your family a lot because you got
4 kids, 3 kids.
3 kids.
You got
3 kids, 3 kids, 1 on the way.
Wait.
Brand new.
Wait a minute.
Hold up.
Did you just give us some exclusive?
Yeah, that's pretty exclusive. Yeah.
All right.
So 3 kids from Baton Rouge, working out of Texas, or not out of you work out of Baton Rouge, but
yeah.
you represent a couple of facilities in the Texas area. Where are they located in Texas? Is a big state.
Yeah, Cypress Lake. Cypress Lake, only 4 hours from where we're sitting.
Okay.
You know, because I live just down the street, and it's 4 hours from my house, just inside Texas. It's about an hour north of Beaumont, or if you're in Houston, it's an hour and a half northeast.
That's the campus that I came to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful campus.
Yep.
Beautiful campus.
Yeah, it's on 52 acres, 20-acre spring-fed lake. Clients can fish, swim in it, weather permitting. It's awesome. You know,
what spring-fed mean for people like me?
Spring-fed, the water comes straight from the ground. It's not like a man-made lake or anything. And
so it's like a glacier.
It's crystal clear. Kinda, in a way.
A glacier.
You was ready.
You got your own source of water. Glaciers got their own source.
It's not like a glacier.
There's big differences. There's really big differences.
We're gonna move on to the next. He's trying to embarrass me.
So how? Go ahead.
Our other 2 programs are down on South Padre Island.
All right.
Which is basically the Destin of Texas.
I need to go visit that one.
No, you do. It's nice because it's 7 miles from Mexico. Best tacos you'll ever have. It's
I'll have to bring mine back to me. I can't get a passport.
No. You're just gonna be close enough to get real Mexican tacos.
So it's like Tijuana in California.
Well, our treatment center is nowhere near Tijuana. I'll start with that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, the closeness of that little city in California that's right there where you can get good tacos. That's what I was relating to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
Set it up, man. Hey, look, the people over there, get with Dan. Dan, get with me. We'll figure it out.
That's right.
Yeah.
What is so what y'all's I guess I don't know if niche is the right word.
Demographic.
I'll tell you what our mission is.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
So the company was started out of Sabino Recovery, which is in Tucson, Arizona. Thomas Isbell is really the founder of Sabino, and he had some partners and some investors when it started. And then about 4 years ago, Roy Serpa joined their team and sat on the board as like a CEO coach. And throughout their experience, they discovered that they worked really well together. And so, Roy kind of stepped in as chairman of the board. But really what it means is they're partners. They bought out all the investors, and it's their company now. The first thing that they did was they created TNR Recovery Group, Thomas and Roy Recovery Group. It's just two guys. We're not backed by private equity, It's just two guys.
Yep.
One of them's in long-term recovery. The other one has a lot of, he's got a personal story and experience that makes him very passionate about the recovery field, helping people with mental health and substance abuse. Sabino is probably one of the best trauma programs in the country,
And that's in Arizona.
Yeah, that one's in Tucson.
In Arizona. Which is where you got sober.
Yeah, well, I got sober in Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one where that famous person went that was on TikTok?
They probably have had some famous people go there.
Yeah.
I cannot confirm or deny if that person.
Well, no, I ain't
I don't know.
do that, but I see it was posted on the video, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking that was the name of it.
It could have been. They have a really good social media, and
Okay.
they've got a little podcast. I don't know how often they do it. They probably do it a lot. But
We got a
I just see the
podcast too.
clips.
Have your people contact our people, and we can be people.
That's right. It's all about connections.
All about.
And you are definitely one of many well-connected like Wi-Fi in these streets.
I think what I'm best at is connecting people. And I want to get back to that later.
Yeah.
But really specifically, like Thomas and Roy wanted to spread their company, and they wanted to share. Sabino is made for people that can afford it. I always say, like, the best treatment's the treatment that you can afford.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of amenities.
I like that.
That you can get 15 clinical hours every week, a la carte. You can do everything from Reiki to brain spotting to sleep study to EMDR, ART, anything under the sun. You can have an individual session doing it. But it doesn't, they wanted to make treatment more available to people. And Thomas is from Texas, Roy is from Texas, so they really wanted to bring treatment to Texas and make it available to people that are insurance dependent or want to utilize their insurance, to receive treatment.
Yep.
So the first thing they did was bought Cypress. And Cypress, I think our niche is really identifying what's going on underlying in somebody's mental health, in their trauma, in their personality, in their history, experiences, whatever it is that's causing the side effect of substance abuse. A lot of us in the recovery field probably say that's a spiritual malady. Like, check. We know what that is.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
there's things that cause that spiritual malady.
Exactly. There's things that cause that, and my personal story, I like to think I was just kind of predisposed.
Yeah.
But there's, the more I do therapy, the more I look at myself, the more I continue to do work on myself, I realize, like, there's some other stuff there.
I got a little shit with me.
I
got a little shit with me.
And so, like, really, it's let's figure out what's going on the inside. Let's treat that, and then let's give some good tools for treating the side effect. And Cypress, 50 acres, 20 acre spring-fed lake, very experiential, very loving community. I mean, the counselors there have been there 5-6 years. All the staff has worked there for a long time. It's kind of like love you till you can love yourself type of entry into treatment. It's co-ed. I'd say, like, the niche is really beautiful properties with really good clinical that treat the underlying issues.
Absolutely.
Because, like, Origins and Hannah's House are way different than Cypress. Cypress is all paths to recovery. We have Wellbriety, which is the Native American approach, Celebrate Recovery, Dharma Recovery, AA. So you kind of pick your path, and then we, like, grow it and add it to your discharge plan and get you connected. Origins and Hannah's house are 12-step. Like, you're going to work the 12 steps while you're there. You're going to leave ready to sponsor people. There's H&Is. And then the clinical approach there is really more specifically trauma.
So how long is the treatment at Cypress Lake and then Origins?
That's a really good question. So Cypress Lake is built out for 45 days clinically. So since we utilize insurance, we're licensed for detox through IOP. But really what that looks like is detox, residential, and then we'll use PHP days to get someone to 45 days if they're not going to go to like an Elevate or like an extended care program that can use their PHP days.
Gotcha.
So if they're just going to do IOP and sober living, we can keep them for like 45 days. But if we're working with one of our really good partners and they're going to use their PHP, then we'll move them on right after residential.
Gotcha.
Which, and this is a total squirrel moment, but it's something that me and Ronnie have talked about from the get-go. And me and you have even had, because for those of y'all who don't know, me and Dan go way, way back.
Mike was my boss.
He always says that shit and then says Mike thinks he was my boss.
Mike thought he was my boss.
But me and Ronnie have talked about it from our perspective, and you've probably seen it, and you've seen the other side because I've heard you mention it, and then you just kind of made reference to it with partnering with other facilities, and I've heard a lot about Texas treatment and how those facilities work well with each other versus some people know in Louisiana, sometimes not everybody plays nice with each other. Mm-hmm. What do you find that is done for the recovery community, not AA community, not, celebrate, like just the recovery community itself, whatever path it may be?
That's a good question. Texas is strong in treatment and it's strong in AA, in recovery. And I think that a lot of that road was paved long before me.
Yeah.
Long before I was even born. They had Mark Houston Recovery Center. He is like, the staple for AA in Texas. And his program was set up to really be like a 12-step immersion. And I don't really know like how it became a cultural thing. But there's a couple treatment centers in and around Austin. I think it probably started with Austin. Austin just saw that like it became this hub because that's where Mark Houston was started and like all this other stuff. These treatment centers just realized like these people that are coming from all over the country to come to our programs, like they need to stay here.
Yeah.
And so like alumni would start to open houses and like alumni would start to open extended cares. And so if you went to Texas, Austin specifically 10 years ago, you were doing residential for 90 days because insurance still paid for that. And then you were going to extended care for probably 6 months, sober living, IOP, hardcore accountability, recovery. And like, I mean,
it just bred.
Like
yeah.
the recovery in Austin is really, really strong. And the culture in treatment in Texas specifically is like elongate the stay as long as possible. And it's not stay in residential longer than you need to be. It's wean off of treatment and be reacclimated back into life slow enough that there's no relapse.
Damn.
Yeah.
So is the success rate in Texas higher than Louisiana, or there's no way to?
I wouldn't.
Well,
I don't know. I think that there's more avenues. Like, if we have I wanted to add, Origins is licensed for 90 days. We use insurance as long as we can. Typically, we'll prorate some stuff after to get people to 90 days. Right. But look, let's say someone goes to Origins for 90 days. This would work with Origins or Cypress. The continuing care person, their job is to meet with the client and the family and to figure out like what next steps are going to look like. And if that is going to be sober living, if that's going to be moving back home, setting them up with a primary therapist, getting them into like an extended care, we have like probably 10 options in every major city.
Right.
And it's like, the top is sober living, daily groups, PHP, accountability, and then like weaning down.
And that brings it back to what you said early, is like it's all about connections and being able to have relationships with multiple people and multiple facilities and multiple entities and multiple people who care, so you can build that referral base so that at the end of the day the client is getting what's best for them and a full transition. And I like how you said weaning off of treatment, right? Yeah. Like go to treatment, get what you need in residential, then get what you need in a lower level of care, and then step down. And then look, I've made reference to it. Ronnie's made reference to it. 9 years still, I'm still I still do my own therapy, right? Individual therapy, because I don't know if it's a game that ever ends. But yeah, so with all of that, and we got a good basis of what Dan does. How'd Dan get there?
Yeah.
How did Dan get there?
That's a really good
He
question.
didn't wake up on a Tuesday and like, you know what?
No, I did not. It was divine intervention.
Yes, indeed.
You want the whole story?
I want a good bit of it.
What you comfortable sharing with us in the audience?
Oh, I'm an open book when it comes to this.
I want a good.
These are my two favorite topics: recovery and myself.
Yeah.
You know.
Ow.
So, look, I'll probably start out the day I turned 18. I'd already gotten arrested twice on drug-related stuff when I was in high school. It really changed my high school experience. I went from U-High to McKinley to graduate.
Ooh, that's a culture shock.
It was a culture shock. It was really good for me. I ended up graduating with, I was probably the 1% that was white in my graduating class compared to where I was before.
Right.
And I start LSU, turn 18, and start outpatient treatment at Townsend all on the same day. That's where they prescribed me 18 milligrams of Suboxone.
Hell yeah.
It was court ordered, the DA, thank you. I didn't have to go to jail. He said you can go to jail, the military, or treatment. And I said, I'll go to treatment. And for some reason, outpatient was on the list, so I went to outpatient. And my mindset was not to recover. It was not even that I had a problem. It was just I need to do something different.
Right.
And I went there, and it was kind of like, let's just check this box and move forward. I talked to some of the older guys that were there. They were all twice my age. And they're like, get as many subs as you can. So I was like, I'm, doing 20 Roxys a day on my assessment. I've been doing 20 Roxys a day since I was 16. I was probably doing 3 to 6 at that time.
Right.
It wasn't until I started Suboxone that my tolerance changed. But, I don't really remember the first 6 months I was in there.
I guess the fuck not.
Not really. We were kind of talking about that before this. Like, there's a lot I don't remember from that time. I know I completed pretrial intervention. You
got the courts off your back.
Thanks to Townsend. I haven't been arrested since I turned 18. I've gotten a lot of speeding tickets, but I haven't been arrested. And when I was, I ended up having a son when I was like 19. And between turning 18 and then having my son, the only thing that really changed was instead of taking the medication as prescribed, I started taking it in the morning or taking it only when I couldn't get Roxys.
Right.
And so it was a pretty rough little go. And I remember right before we had my son, we went to the ultrasound. I figured out I was going to have a boy, and I hadn't used any Roxys in a while. It was pretty cool. I was like, this is good. I think I can do this. And I found out I was having a boy, and I did a Roxy that night to celebrate. I'm dramatic. I really am. I'm dramatic and fantastical, and so I thought this will be a goodbye.
Yeah, of course.
This will be a goodbye to the old life. I'll do it one more time because I love them things, and then I'll focus on being a dad. I'll get a second job. my head was in the right place.
My
And look,
intentions was good.
look. Seriously,
Well,
like my intentions were good.
Most of the time we have good intentions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They say
Nobody-
the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do this one more time and then fuck up my whole life.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I didn't stop using for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like straight.
So that one time you was
Straight
like, I'm finna say
Roxy's.
goodbye. It was like, hello, mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just woke it back up in me. Like I had really never known before. And so fast forward, I'm in treatment for the first time at Woodlake. My son is 3 months old. You know, worlds collided. Everyone kind of realized what was going on. The lies didn't work anymore. And I go to treatment and, you know, Jeff Simmons is in there doing Big Book while I'm still detoxing. And he said, you got a spiritual malady, a mental obsession, and a physical allergy. And I was like, yeah, this is me.
This checks the fuck out.
What do I do about it? And they're like, you got to find God. And so, like, look, I got to say, like, I wanted to leave after, like, the first week or so. But after that, like, I totally jumped in. Like, I bought all the way in.
Yeah.
And I was reading the book every night. I was waking up. I was hitting my knees and I was praying every day. I was trying to find God. I wasn't sure what that looked like because I'd taken a lot of hallucinogens when I was out there. I'd seen the universe and it kind of changed my perspective on, you know, growing up Catholic.
Yeah.
But I wanted to stay sober. And I said, I'll go to sober living. I'll do IOP. And I moved into Louie's house. And that first night I went out and my son's mom, we were at a crawfish boil, and she said, you're not an alcoholic. You're a drug addict. Have a beer. Be normal. And all I ever wanted in life was to feel normal and to feel socially accepted, you know? And, like, I got the joke. And so I have a beer. It's terrible. You know, like, I never had even a second of, like, this is nice.
Yeah.
Immediately, like, you know, belly full of beer, head full of AA. It was terrible. I left and I went and got a slip chip that night.
Shit.
Yeah.
Dang.
And the next morning I bought 10 Roxy's with the money I was supposed to have for sober living. And look, I really, like, the next couple months, I don't really remember. Like, I went to Woodlake again 30 days later. I had 7-day stay at Vermilion in between that. I went to the Tall Center. I went in and out of sober living, psych hospitals, AA, getting meetings. Like, there was like 3 months in there that I was like really sober and like had a home group, had a sponsor, worked up until the ninth step.
Yeah.
And then there was another time where I even made it to start sponsoring people, but I was sponsoring people out of self. You know, it was, look at me, look at what I'm doing.
Yeah. I
I didn't understand the true nature of like why we do this work, and I didn't get the promises.
Right.
So basically, I'm in detox, and I walk out on 4/20 of 2015. And I had every intention on staying sober. I'd talked to my sponsor. I'd prayed over my unit, okay? Like, I was on fire. I walk out of there. I got hit with the strongest physical allergy you could ever imagine. I thought I was going to tear my skin off if I didn't get high. And my parents picked me up and they brought me home. And I told them, like, I mean, I'd just given up. I'd tried everything to stay sober and I'd failed repeatedly. And I was like, this is it. So I told them some terrible things so that, because I was on a mission.
Yeah.
And I was like, when y'all find me dead, maybe this won't hurt so bad if I can be like mean enough. So I took their checkbook. I like dodged my dad in Albertsons. Yeah, I didn't have a car. I was running, you know. And like, bro, I had my Air Maxes, a shaved head, a black tee, and like that was Dan at 19 and 20. I was 130 pounds.
So you snatched the checkbook and did a little.
Yeah, I was out. I was out. I was running. It was a terrible story. And look, it's funny, but like that night, the next night, and the next night, I tried to overdose.
Yeah.
And those 3 days, I kept waking up.
So you didn't cancel the checks? They didn't cancel the checks?
Look, they didn't have someone like me telling them how to set boundaries with their son. They really didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
how ironic it is.
my first intervention's after this. Just give me a second.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, like, literally, I just want to take a second and say this. Like, if anyone out there has ever attempted suicide and woken up after, that's the loneliest feeling in the world, hands down. And, like, I've been through that.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that have been through that, like in the recovery and mental health space, and there are people who understand.
Welcome to Elevate, a place for people like you, built by people just like you.
We're committed to helping all elevate from the destruction of addiction.
I hope I would give somebody who's either new in recovery or that's currently struggling with addictions, today can be the last day that you struggle, the last day that you wonder how you're going to have to chase down that drink, that fix, whatever the case may be for you.
At Elevate, we embody more than treatment. It's about passion, love, understanding, truly being your partner on your path to recovery.
Our staff treats substance abuse and co-occurring mental health disorders with a multidisciplinary approach to best fit our clients' needs. We all just embrace each other. We genuinely care, check up on each other. And it's not an act. You matter. You're more than what you've allowed yourself to assume you were.
When perseverance, hard work, and dedication meets, success happens.
At Elevate, we have a variety of programs to fit our clients' personal needs, such as intensive outpatient, and the aftercare program.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, give us a call. Elevate. Do more than recover. Leave a legacy. Absolutely. Ronnie, Ronnie talks about that all the time.
Again. But go ahead. Yeah.
So my dad, I mean, look, that third morning, I'd already gotten high. And my dad came, and I think he was going to find me dead in my apartment, and he didn't. And he sat me down, and we talked just like this. And for some reason, it was like divine intervention. I failed. Like, I felt it. I felt everything that he was telling me. And I said, all right, I'll try one more time. That's all he wanted. He just wanted me to go to treatment and try one more time. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. I went to St. Chris. I ran away. I ran away the next morning because they wouldn't give me enough detox meds. And then I go home. I get my car. No, I get my phone. It's at my parents' house. I think I ran down the street to Louis Sober Living and told this dude, I used to live here, bring me home. And I get to my phone, text, somebody to come and pick me up. And my mom, dad, and Louis Blanche all show up, and they sit down, and they're intervening on me, and they're like, look, you got to go back to treatment. Like, this isn't the way to live. It's not going to end well for you. Louis put that on my Facebook. This will not end well for you. It was like 2 days before that. And so I'm like listening, but, I'm looking out the windows behind them because someone's coming to pick me up soon. And so I see a little car pull up, and I ran out, hopped in the car, got loaded one more time, and then my parents show up again at my apartment, and they said, all right, look, you're going to jail. And I was like, whoa, what about this treatment thing? I'll go to treatment. I hate jail. And so, look, I went back to treatment. I went to St. Chris, and I wish I could say that, like, I've done everything to stay sober since, but, like, that next morning I left again.
Damn, Dad. Now, I ain't know all this.
Look,
This is all new to me.
Look, it was not cool. I had that thing kicking my ass.
Just day in, day out.
Dude, it was running my life. And so I'm walking down Goodwood. I think I was running. I thought they were going to come and get me. They weren't. They didn't even send a van.
I didn't care.
And I remember, like, it was the first time that I didn't have a plan. It just, like, kept clicking. That scheming thinking, like, it just wouldn't work. And I'd never failed to, like, get loaded before that. That was the first time that, like, it happened. And just the bottom fell out. I got, like, my whole soul was tired. I was tired of running. I was tired of trying. I was just like, whatever. My dad found me in a parking lot. It was raining. I just sat down or something. I kind of came to at Our Lady of the Lake. They were putting fluids in me. And I went to Wood Lake because they knew I wasn't going to run from there.
Yeah.
I spent the next 20 days pissed at everybody, hating God, hating myself, hating you if you were happy. And then this guy came and told his story about getting sober in Prescott, Arizona. And I think he was there probably to, he was there to make amends to one of the staff members, and they just asked him to tell his story during education. And it was the first time that I was like, sober 20 days. I didn't want to be here. I just tried to kill myself 3 times. Maybe I should try something else. And I got on a plane with 30 days sober and met my sponsor that night at a meeting, worked the steps, continued to mentor others, and tried to help one person every day since. Yeah. And I'll celebrate 10 years April 25th.
Hell yeah. Prescott,
so for
Arizona.
all you people that think money solves everything, because you went to U-High, you're not finna sit and tell me you ain't have money. And then you
I went to U-High because my dad was a teacher, though.
Yeah, but you stole your parents' checkbook and they didn't cancel the check. So anyway, we know what that means.
You think everybody has money?
That does not mean that you're happy, right? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people think money is, if I had money, I'll still be getting high. But like, you were miserable.
Yes.
And you just didn't know how to fix it.
Mm-mm.
I did not know it took that long. I knew you've been to a few places, but I didn't know it was like that, bruh. I think so. When I met you, you had like 3 years sober.
Yeah, I moved back with 18 months. Started my sober living houses.
So that's when it was, because you had the house over there on South Harrisburg or something by Blue Store Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sober like 2 years at that time.
Okay.
I think that was 2015.
You had super long hair then. Super long hair.
Yeah, it was super long. That was right before I started at the Grove.
Yep.
I cut my hair like right before I started at the Grove.
Yep.
I wanted to be professional.
Hey, I got dreads.
Turns out it wasn't about the hair.
That's what I was going to say. I got dreads now. Like, what?
Damn.
I had some place hire me just so I could fit the description of what they needed for Carf.
Dan would come in. I don't know if Dan was late.
I was always late.
Dan was always late.
Video games were keeping me sober while I worked at the Grove.
Yeah.
COD, that good old COD.
So in Prescott and as you're going through your journey, what do you think were some of the like key things that you did to build this foundation that you're standing on now, right? Because you've gotten to the point where you're a father, you operate in different business ventures, you have your marketing gig, you're able to provide for your family, you're able to help people, you're able to keep balance in your own life. And so one of our big things is like, yes, we can overcome all these things, right? Like overcome the tragedies, overcome the grief, overcome the loneliness or whatever inside of ourselves, right? I talk about it sometimes, and me and Ronnie talk about how we came from different backgrounds and all of this stuff. And like, I heard somebody tell me one time that there's 2 types of users, right? There's 2 types of people that start using, and one are people that start using because they have to, right? They're using it to blot out the trauma or whatever it may be. And then there's some people that start using because they want to. I was definitely one of the people that started using because they wanted to.
Come on.
Right? I've made the story, like I grew up very fortunate, grew up in, 2-parent household. Mom and dad worked their ass off to make sure I had everything I needed and damn near everything I wanted, and still chose, right, that. And then of course through that choice, and then as you mentioned, like looking back, yes, like I felt lonely inside. Should I have? Probably not, but I did. Mm-hmm. And so we overcome those things, and we can become productive people, and we have these stories, right? Like running through Albertsons with our parents' checkbook, spending 3 days trying to kill ourselves and keep waking up, spending multiple times in and out of prison and multiple suicide attempts, and all of us have multiple treatment attempts, and all this stuff we've overcome. But it's important to like share little tidbits of like the foundation. Like for me, Ronnie asked whenever I made 9 years, and I was like, one of the biggest things that helped me was creating a foundation of structure and discipline on a plan, right? Like a routine. So what are some of the things, like, as you sought your journey, like that keep you grounded, and B, I know that you've done a lot of spiritual things, right? So like, what are some of those things that you look into?
Yeah, that's a really good question. All right, so look, when I was like
So look,
When I got to Arizona, I was 30 days sober, and it was the first time in my life that like I wasn't craving. I wasn't thinking about it. And I didn't focus on that at the time. I was just like, all right, I'm here. I'm 30 days sober. Like, I'm not going to really buy into it. Like, let me just do my work and keep trying to move towards stability or whatever that was. When I went out there, I made the decision I was going to change everything about myself.
right.
I mean, to the extent that I literally, like, stopped acting the way that I used to. Just because I was like, I got to figure out, like, who I am.
Absolutely.
And there may be someone else that I can be that'll give me much better, what's the word?
Value.
Yeah, value, but like instead of consequences, just like better outcomes. Basically better outcomes. And so, look, my first day there, like we were all going to a meeting. I was like, I'm going to get my sponsor tonight because I know AA works for other people. I'd seen enough that like I had a second step. And if Louis Blanche could get sober, I can probably get sober. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, like, he was my second step. He really was the one that I finally got to know good enough and got to know his story good enough that I was like, all right, if he can change his life and stay sober every day and be happy, joyous, and free, I probably have a shot.
Yeah.
So I meet my sponsor that night. We start working the steps. We worked them really quick. That's something that we do and something that I do now. I'm kind of like a trauma surgeon when it comes to the steps.
Let's get through them.
Yeah. We can go back later and do some, like, touch-up stuff, but, like, let's stop the bleeding. So we did my fifth step really quickly. It was the first time, this is for everybody out there, this is the first time that I actually did an hour of power.
Yeah.
Like I sat and I prayed for 60 minutes. And I remember like going through my inventory, saying all my prayers, reading 6 and 7 in the 12 and 12. And I was like, all right, I think it's been an hour. I checked my watch, exactly an hour. I was like, okay. I mean, that was the first time I stayed sober was when I'd done 4 fifth steps.
Did the things that it suggested you do.
Yeah. Took the book down from the shelf when I got home, the whole 9 yards. And so, like, I did the steps the way that they were meant to be done. That's, like, the first thing. And I really put everything I could into it. I talk about the inventory a lot. Like, I put everything that came, like, I asked God, show me the things in my life and in me that keep me from you. And I let him speak through me. I just wrote them down. But I'd say like that was a really transformational process. And it took some time. The main thing that I really harped on was wake up and say, okay. If you say, hey, look, man, I need some help today. Okay. Can you help me move this couch? Okay. Sure. I need some help in the yard. Okay. Because whatever God's plan is a lot better than mine. I've got a ton of experiences of that. I think that really like the things that kind of shifted and turned were after I left treatment. Because when I was in treatment, it was like accountability, 12-step groups all the time. We went to 1 or 2 meetings a day for 6 months. I left there 7 months sober. But I'll say one little story about right when I got there, and then I'll start talking about when I left. So my third day there, we went kayaking in the Grand Canyon. Like, it was pretty sick. That was back when insurance paid good for treatment. And so I'm down there in the Grand Canyon, and my sponsor had gone through the same program as me 3 years before. And he said, I told him, like, I don't know if I believe in God right now. In fact, maybe I believe in him, but I hate him.
Yeah.
I don't think that I should have had to do all this stuff. My life kind of sucks. I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I can't even see my son right now.
Yeah, this shit sucks.
It's terrible. And so I was down there, and he said, look, just when you go down into the Grand Canyon, go get quiet and speak to God and see what happens. So I'm like, we're taking a break. It's like the second day, and I'm like laying on the bank, and I'm just looking up, and it's like a mile up, and you can see the rocks. Like, it's insane. You're down there, and you feel really small, which was really important for me because I've always kind of had a little bit of ego, And so it felt good that I'm this tiny thing in the universe. God probably made all this stuff. And I said, God, show me something. I'm here, show me a sign. People are always asking for signs from God. And I see like this, I'm watching like this big bird. It looked like a big crow or something, or like a hawk. And it's going like in and out of the little inlets of the top of the canyon, like it was looking for a little mouse or something to eat. And it goes right above me, and it loops in a circle like 3 times, and then just keeps going. And I was like, that's enough. That's enough for me to get started. So fast forward 6 months later, I'm completing treatment. I've done everything they told me to do. I've held everybody accountable. I've been open to accountability and criticism. I've been redirected. I've redirected myself. I've, prioritized mind, body, and spirit. When I was in treatment, I'd wake up every day and I'd do a 15-minute meditation. This is after going to an early birds meeting. We'd go to a meeting that night. It was jam-packed with stuff. But when I left, I was on fire. And they wouldn't let me sponsor people in there. I was like, what are y'all trying to kill me? I'm dramatic. And so the first thing I did was I went to a meeting, and Prescott was such a good place for sponsoring people because people were flown in from all over the country.
Right.
And one of the prerequisites for them to get their phone and like move up in treatment is they have to have a sponsor and be working the steps. So if I'd see a newcomer just raise his hand in a meeting, or like, hey, I'm John, I'm from Jersey, I just got here, first meeting, I'd walk straight up to him after the meeting. I'd say, I'm Dan, I'm your sponsor.
I got you.
They don't even know, I'd just be like, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to do it. If you want to do it, let's do it. And I mean, there was a time I had like 15 sponsees. God. And a lot of those guys wouldn't do anything other than what treatment asked them to do. But I was like, at the very least, we're going to work 1, 2, and 3 the right way, and you're going to do an inventory, and I'm going to hear it. Whatever you do after that, I mean, maybe we'll set up in a men's trip when you go home on pass. But like most of those guys, like, they weren't doing it because they wanted to stay sober.
No. They're doing it because they wanted their phone back or privileges.
But I was doing it because I wanted
to
stay sober. And so I must have heard over 100 fifth steps. I was there for another year after treatment. I probably heard 100, maybe more. And I was really into like getting outdoors because Arizona is so vastly different from Louisiana. Like you could go hike, you could go rock climb, you could go kayak, and I had access to a lot of those things. So I'd take my sponsees out and we'd do step work like while we were rock climbing. And then anytime we were doing the 3rd step, like obviously we'd pray in public and we'd say the 3rd step prayer together. But I'd always take them cliff jumping. I'd be like, you believe in God? Let's go. And so like I remember.
What the fuck?
Dude, on my inventory, I had like 4.
They did it already?
Yeah, 100%.
You not cliff jumping?
Ronnie, I'll take you today.
I ain't gonna lie. Let me stop doing that. On my bucket list, not to deter, my bucket list is to bungee jump and skydive.
Well, look, that's stuff I've never even done.
Yeah.
This is just jumping 30 feet into a lake. This is chill.
I ain't jumping in the water.
All right. Anyway, so look, on my inventory, I was scared of heights before I got sober. I was having coffee with this dude, and he said, you put everything down there. Put everything on the fears list, everything on resentments, everything on harms, anything that comes up, just write it down. I put heights. I had no idea why I put heights. But it was removed from me when I was cliff jumping and rock climbing in treatment and like hiking like next to a cliff. I don't know why. I had this faith in God, right? And so I'd say before I'd cliff jump, God help me. And I'd jump. And look, I'm not going to lie.
That's fucking great.
Like, that was the most physical representation of my faith that you could ever imagine. And like, I'm not scared of heights today. I think that God removes fears from us throughout this recovery process if they prevent us from doing His will.
Yeah.
And if they prevent us from bringing others to God.
Man flies everywhere. You can't be afraid of heights.
No, you can't.
I fly too, but like being bare and like not enclosed in something up high, that's different.
I mean, look, you ask about like things that I've done discipline-wise, stuff like that. Look, it's simple. It's just like, Dr. Bob's, what's his last speech? He says, if you Boil AA down, all the way down. Clean house, trust God, help others. That's what I try to do every day. I try to clear the wreckage of my past, make up for stuff when I mess up, because I'm going to mess up. I'm going to mess up later today probably.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know? But if I can fix it and I can show up as like a good father, son, husband, friend, coworker.
Built by the Red Stick, baby.
By the Red Stick, bro. You gotta love it.
Built by and built by little cliff jumping.
And
Little-
some kayaking.
Kayaking.
And some hiking.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. This is Ronnie's least favorite time.
Because we have to leave you. And we have to leave them.
You don't ever have to leave me, Ronnie.
When we going out to eat?
You just let me know when.
Whenever you going again.
I'll be back in town Wednesday.
This Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Bet. Dan take you to the good places too. It's a great friend, man. So as y'all heard, man, money don't solve everything. I'm gonna keep bringing it back to the money. But for real though, like no matter what you look like, no matter your upbringing, no matter where you come from, like we've all people that done been through either similar things or things that was our bottom. And we just here. We want to help every day. Again, you can reach me in my DM, Ronnie Leduff on Facebook. If you have my phone number, you have it. If not, it's on my Facebook. How can they reach you, Dan, if they needed help with treatment or getting in Cypress Lake or anything?
225-333-8556. You can call me anytime.
This dude gave out his number.
That's what it's all about.
That's dedication.
If anybody needs some help, this is what we do.
Yes.
Goodness gracious almighty. That is a first that somebody did it on here. And you can reach Michael on Facebook, Michael Axelrod Oakley, man. We just want to be here for y'all. You're struggling
Absolutely.
with addiction, you're struggling with alcohol, drugs, mental health, whatever the trauma. I mean, you heard the list of things that Dan's facility offers. But until then, as always, we'll be here at the same time, at the same place, with the same producer. Built by the Red Stick, baby. Built by adversity, led by courage.
Love y'all.